Good morning again. That was a song that was just too true, isn't it? We don't, Rolling Stones didn't come up with it. It's been around for a long time. That's exactly what happens. Sometimes we're praying and we believe we're praying for a specific thing, and that specific thing isn't what we need. What we need is to be empowered to move forward into a new understanding, into a greater realization, into a greater way of being. That's what we've been looking at the past few weeks. We've been looking at the book, The Four Agreements. And this is the last lesson on that. I'm going to be talking about the chapter on releasing the old agreements. Releasing old agreements is how we move forward. We move forward in our life, in the spiritual and physical and in every way. We have to release who it is we are and be able to step into who it is we are. Yeah, that's the truth. Now, he gives us four agreements. Basically, it's, always keep your word. Don't make assumptions, which is always a favorite. Always do your best. And don't take things personally. Now, all of these things work together. They work together because these are foundational teachings. They're pretty much found throughout Christian teachings, throughout Muslim, throughout Buddhist. It's the same teachings. The same teachings are foundational for our spiritual growth, for our personal growth, for our growth into the fullness of our potential. Now, 4 is a foundational number because there's 4 corners in a foundation of a building. And what we're in the process of always doing is building our awareness, building our consciousness, building our presence into what it is that we are intended to be, what it is that we have intended ourselves to be when we came in this time around. Marie speaks of it as freedom and awakening. It's about gaining a greater understanding as how we as individuals are present in the world and what changes would be needed to create a more meaningful and purposeful life, a more meaningful and purposeful experience of life and presence in life as life. That's done by breaking our old agreements, breaking our patterns of habitual thinking, and picking up the opportunities that Spirit is always presenting to us. Every day, we are presented with new opportunities to change. Every single day. And I would venture to say the majority of us, the majority of the time, don't get it. Don't get them. Because we are caught up in our, as he calls them, agreements. We are caught up in our perception of the world, in our belief system, in how we think things should be, and how we think things ought to be, how we think things are for me. Because each one of us has that me presence. And for each one of us, the world revolves around me. Yeah, it does. For each and every individual, your experience revolves around you. We don't want to think about that. Well, everything's about me. That seems like a selfish thing. Well, it's the truth. Everything is about you, because everything is perceived by you. Everything is acted on by you. You are the impetus of your life experience. You. And you can make a difference. Only you can make a difference. Only you can change your belief system. Only you can adopt a new way of being in the world in order to be a more clear expression of yourself. One of my teachers many, many years ago told me that the purpose of spiritual practice, of spiritual study, is to be ever clearer presence of spirit. Being the presence of spirit in ever more clearer ways to clear the clouds up that we have brought in around ourselves so that we can be the truth of us. We can be who we are. And as we break our old patterns of thought, as we break these things that are no longer useful for us, but we keep using, we begin to find a personal power. We begin to find our personal power of choice. All too often, now again, I would say the vast majority of the day, we run on automatic pilot. We're not making choices. We're just doing. Because, by God, that's what I do. And I've heard people say that. Well, I'm not going to change because that's what I do. And then they complain because nothing changes. Then I don't bother to tell them any different. I just bless them and send them on their way. Because you can't change anybody. You can't change a single soul but you. You're the only soul that you have true influence over. The only soul that you can influence is yours. The only presence that you can make better is yours. As you find a deeper awareness through greater choices that you make, you're able to be more of yourself in the world. One of the things, exercises I do once in a while, is I jump in the Wayback Machine. And way back, I don't even know how old I was because it was way back when. Back when I saw the world that way. Back when everything was good. All the people were good. Everyone I met was fun, good, happy. I was probably a little bitty thing about that big, but life was good. And then I started to learn different. And all the shoulds and shouldn'ts and have-tos and everything started to get piled up on me. And, found out that other kids could be mean. That life wasn't exactly how I thought it was. But in truth, life was exactly how I thought it was. But as Ruiz calls it, that's the domestication process. We're taught about living in the world. Now, some of that is important. Because while we are spiritual beings living in a material world, there are specific rules in the material world that we have to pay attention to. We have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to be aware of where we are, how we are, who we are, and the same thing of the people around us. That this comes from thousands and thousands and thousands of years of say, domestication of living in the world. You learn how to protect yourself. You learn how to protect those around you to the best of your ability. But there's other ways to protect yourself and protect those around you rather than through the negative thinking, rather than through fear. What he talks about in this book is there's two things. There's love and there's fear. We learn to operate in the world through fear rather than love. Love is natural. We are born in love as love. We are born as love. Anything that is not love is learned. I'll say that again. Anything, any aspect of our being, or that's not real, anyway, anything that we are is not of love, is learned. Our natural presence is love. So it's ours to move back to that expression the best way that we know how, the best way that we can, and to create the best version of ourselves as individuals that we can, the best expression of who you really are. You're really not afraid of next Tuesday. You're not. In your heart of hearts, you know that what will be, and God is in charge. You know that the progression of the human race is moving forward, is opening up to greater expressions and greater experiences of love. Not of fear, not of hate, of love. And there is no going back. We've talked about that in class on Tuesday. We've moved across a barrier of human consciousness. And there's no going back. There's no going back. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen. Now, there's going to be hiccups and bumps along the way, but you can't stop it. It's the movement of spirit. It's the creation of God happening. And this, it all started, the Earth is like 4 billion years ago, 4 billion years or more, when the comets came in and brought little chemicals of life and, protozoa, this, that, the other thing, walking fish, blah, 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 blah. Here we are. Takes a while. But in the time of the universe, in God's time, snap. It's like that. And our presence here is proof of all of that in the past. It's proof of it. In this chapter, he gives us a taste. He reminds us of how it is to be the real you. Just like I do that little exercise. We all do exercises hopefully we do exercises quite often, and that's called creativity. What do you do to be creative? Do you write? Do you paint? Do you do pottery? Do you garden? Do you ride your bike? Do you play tennis? Do you play pickleball? Do you play, whatever? Whatever it is that you're doing, just because you want to. Whatever it is you're doing that brings you enjoyment, when you are doing this, you're in the moment. You're not thinking about the past. You're not concerned about the future. You're expressing yourself in the moment. That is when you are being who you are. When you are expressing yourself in the moment, in joy, in love, and in just expression. And it is essentially that we are all working to do in a consistent way. To be that way on a consistent basis, while striving to live as a conscious spiritual being in this physical world. The key is living as a conscious spiritual being in this physical world. Conscious, awake, aware. In the book, we find he's given us 3 steps. 3 steps to greater freedom, a greater awareness. On page 100, he tells us the first step is the mastery of awareness. This is to be aware of who we really are with all of our potential and possibilities. The second is the mastery of transformation. How to change, how to be free from domestication. Now, in this step, he says to sit down and make a list of all the things you can change. I know if I sat down to make a list, I'd be sitting there going, well, it would take quite a while. The best way to make the list is when they come up. As you're working on your awareness and you are aware that you need to make changes and something comes out of your mouth that shouldn't have been, I shouldn't have said that. Or you do something, well, no, I shouldn't have done that. As you become aware, you are aware of these things. And you add them to the list to work on. As you're living your life, your list grows longer. You always have work to do. Always, always. Always, always, always. The third is the mastery of intent. The mastery of intent. And he says the intent is that part of life which makes transformative energy possible. It is the one living being that encompasses all energy, or what we call God. Intent is life itself. It is unconditional love. The mastery of intent is the mastery of love. What do you intend to put out in the world with your words, with your actions, with your thought? What is the intent behind it? That's what he's talking about. Our intent behind it is love. When we have our intent behind it, love, we will reap like results. When the intent behind it is put forth out of fear, for whatever reason, we will reap like results. When we start acting more in love than fear, we move out of the reciprocal existence. Fear always brings reciprocity. Fear begets fear. Love begets love. Love is creative. Love will change your life. Fear will change your life, but not in a good way. We want to move out of the idea of living life in reciprocity. They did this, so I'll do that. I'll do this, so they will do that. Control and manipulation all around us. We want to move out of that into the flow of living life as you are, as who you are, who you truly are. Not who you believe yourself to be, but who you are. It's important to keep in mind that we're making changes not only in order to reap a greater benefit from the world and to create a greater happiness for ourselves, but we're also making changes in order to express who we really are, the truth of us. And so if we express the truth of us, so we have a greater freedom. We have a greater freedom of self-knowledge. You have the freedom of knowing who you are, of not having somebody tell you who you are, that you're not who you are because of someone else's opinion of you, because of someone else's judgment of you. You are who you are because, boom, you're a beautiful child of God, an expression of love, and that's what you do. That's who you are. That's why you are. You're able to act in the world from a place of personal power based in love and wisdom rather than fear and judgment. You are a being who is capable of responding to the world out of wisdom and love. It all comes down to accepting and understanding yourself. Accepting yourself as you are, who you are, and understanding what it is you need to do in order to be the truth of you. In Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, chapter 3, verses 17 and 18, Paul says, "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And all of us, not just you, or you, but all of us, with unveiled faces, seeing the glory of the Lord as though reflected in a mirror, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another." Now, in here, he's telling us with unveiled faces, when we remove all the opinions of others, the opinions of ourselves, when we remove all that, when we take the veil of illusion away, we see that we are the reflection of Spirit. We are the perfect reflection of God. And we can live life accordingly. We can learn of life accordingly. It is from one degree of glory to another. This tells me that you're good just as you sit here. You're better and good. You're glorious just as you sit. Then you know what? You're going to get more glorious. That's how it works. You don't perceive it because you're in the midst of it. But others perceive it. The world perceives it. The world is changed by it as you move from one degree of glory to another. To live your life in a way where you do not have to justify yourself. You do not have to justify your existence. Don't have to justify your reason for being here. Where you have no fear of being judged, where you are no longer responsible for someone else's opinion, where you have no need to control another, and you have no need for another to control you. David Walker, past president of religious science, said, "Freedom is doing something for yourself and for God, not because you want to be somebody, but because you are somebody. Freedom and awareness is knowing that you don't have to make a difference in someone else's eyes to be worth something. You know you are worth something because you are making a difference as you are. Knowing that you are as much now as you will ever be. And your work is to reveal that, to experience that, to express that. Awareness is being in that place of self-knowledge where you can look into the future and not be afraid. Look into the past and not be guilty. And look and be in the present and not be overwhelmed. Unity author says, freedom is yours, but you must realize it and claim it. There is nothing you can limit, nothing that can limit or bind you. For in truth, in spirit, you are free, you are unfettered, you are unbound. Freedom is yours. It is your right. Awareness is who you are, and both are yours right now. God blesses you. Whew.